was like, you know what, this is something that it means a lot more than the way that I'm going about it. And you get married to somebody, to a woman who's a virgin, you know, not to say that you're more prone to cheat on her, you know, just because you've had sex in the past before, but you reached a place in your life where you saw the importance of it, of sex being something that's more, like everybody's saying, more spiritual and carrying more emotions than something that's just another woman, you know, type of thing. It's different, you know, when it gets to that point where, you know, you see it as a problem and you address that problem.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like we're not saying, like, if you've done it in the past, you're more likely to cheat in your marriage. What we're saying is that it's like, just like we just said, if you do it continuously do it like that, and it becomes a habit, it's just like substance abuse. You can't just say, all right, I'm gonna keep doing it, and then you have the feeling for it again, then I'm gonna keep doing it, and then you just expect to stop. And then it's just going back to a relationship, you keep having sex with people and different people, and then you find the right person, and you said, I'm gonna stop. It won't work that way. You have to work on yourself and change that mindset and be able to change from that before you can settle down with the person. Guess what?
Oh, as human beings, I see that, like, especially because we're young and we're confused. Like, this is the time where we're trying to just get enlightened so we won't be so confused. Because I believe that what we do now shapes our future. So all the problems that we have now, because, like, truth be told, like, our God is a forgiving God. He understands, like, the struggles that we're going through, everything like that. And if we seek for Him for guidance, He's going to help us. You know, He's going to help us with the struggles. He's going to help us, like, just fight our demons and everything like that. It's up to us to put forth that effort into wanting to be a changed person, wanting to be saved, wanting to just live a life of purity. Because who's to say that, okay, just because, like, yeah, you had a bad past, but if you truly are trying, because it always says, like, I remember, I don't know if this was, like, in the Bible or something, but, like, a lot of people say, oh, yeah, well, oh, this person's always doing this on Saturday, but then, like, next day, you know, I see him in church asking for forgiveness, blah, 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 blah. But what we don't know that person's struggle. That's number one. Number two, we don't know that person's relationship with God, and we don't know if this person's really trying. You know what I mean? So, like, we're very judgmental when it comes to, like, sex and, like, oh, you're not supposed to do it. But it's something that's, since it's being thrown at us from every direction, it's like when we wake up, it's being thrown at us. We see it in music videos. We see it on television. We see it everywhere. So it's really, really hard, especially in this world, in this society. It's something really, really hard to just be able to control and just say, you know what, this is wrong. I'm going to try to stay pure. I'm going to try to wait. I'm going to try to do this. I'm going to try to do that. I think, like, the whole topic of sex is, like, you're going to have to continuously pray on it and hope that you have the strength to be able to be pure. You have the strength to be able to say, like, okay, like, yeah, there's a pretty girl there, but there are pretty girls everywhere. You know, like, it's never going to change. That's never going to change. There's always going to be a pretty face. I need to just be able to look past that. And once you start looking at people as human beings, that's when you can truly be able to get past that. It's called, like, beatific vision. I think that's what it's called. Like, once you really start looking at people the way God intended us to look at them, just as a human being. Not as something that, you know, that person gives you pleasure, that person gives you this, that person gives you that, but just be able to just look at them like, you're my brother, you're my sister, I don't want to hurt you, I don't want to hurt you either.
I have a question. If two people are in a relationship, but they're not married, and they're not having sex either, is it okay to do other things? Like
other things. That's a good question.
Other things. I don't want to get specific. I don't know.
I
like
mean,
other things, but like anything else besides actual sex.
Like oral sex?
Yeah,
That
oral
is
sex or. Well, I mean, I thought the thing was like penetration.
Technically penetrating in some way.
I feel like as Christians, that's what we've limited sex to. It's just the actual penetration. But sex isn't just penetration. Sex is a lot of things. Like the things, even, yeah, it's emotions. Like, I don't know how to really explain, but like just anything that arouses your desires that can lead, like sex is a series of, there are many things that lead up to sex. So it's like, what does it start from? Let's be real, we're not little kids.
It starts from kissing.
All right, and then it goes to touching, and then
Like, if you're just teasing yourself about it, I mean, you're obviously creating more lust.
Exactly.
And like the Bible says how,
lust.
you know,
That was
even
the
if a
word.
man,
Thank you.
you know, the preacher on Sunday, he said, you know, how the Bible says, even if a man, the Bible says, even if a man looks at a woman lustfully, he's sinned in his heart. And every day, as men, obviously, there's a bunch of beautiful women, and we look at them, you know, like that. But if you're teasing yourself, you know, all the time, man, you know, if you thinking just because y'all are dry humping or whatever, and you know, but it's, I'm being real, like, and you're creating a lustful thought in your mind. And at the end of the day, when you're just sitting there, you're walking by, you're thinking lustfully in your head, because we're human beings. That feeling is there. You know, when you get all riled up and you know your blood starts pumping or whatever, and you know, there's an emotion. It happens. You know, so you get to that point where you know, y'all almost have sex, but you don't have sex. You know, and you just get up to a point where you get yourself so hot or whatnot, and then all day, the next day, you're gonna be thinking about it when you see that person. Yeah, and then I mean, just like you said, I mean, like you talked about how it's like it gets to a point where you know you don't look at, you really dehumanize that person. You know, like you know, just to be real, like you know, talking about on like a guy's perspective. You know, not to say that you know all guys look at women like a piece of flesh or whatever, but I feel like when you just start having like sex with a bunch of people all the time, like although you might see you know somebody that you're really attracted to, and you get with that person, once you have sex with that person, you see somebody else, you know, who looks the way that person looked, you know, before, you know, that's all you want from that next person. You might think, you know, okay, you know, oh, I could like that. But once she gives it up to you, you know, like just to be real, like, you know, you're like, man, you know, there's somebody else who's probably prettier, who has a better body or whatever, and, you know, that's just how it goes. And, you know, just for me, you know, as a man, that's just how I put it, you know, in my own head about, like, the way that I want to live, you know, in the way that I feel like I'm always going to be surrounded with different women all the time, but at the same time, you know, it's like, I feel like a lot of us don't even see, like, the emotional side of it, because a lot of people, you know, I talk to my sisters, and they're like, you know, how sex is probably a lot more emotional for women than it is for men, you know, and most of the time, so a lot of times when, you know, when guys are talking about, oh, she's a hoe, blah, 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 you know, think about it in the sense that, you know, maybe a bunch of guys did that to her, made her that way, made her feel like, you know, okay, if I'm having sex with him and he's having sex with somebody else, she's probably doing something better or something like that. So, you know, if sex is what I gotta do, you know, to keep a man around, you know, that's how I'm gonna sell myself out, you know, and then at the end of the day, you're like, no, I would never go out with her because she's a hoe. I heard a bunch of stuff about her. At the same time, us as dudes, we're jumping around between a bunch of different women, and we're not seeing it that way. And like, so what makes her a hoe? You know, at the same time, am I not ever going to talk to her or give her a chance because she slept with a bunch of different men? I'm like, it's just a repeating cycle. And I'm like, you know, somewhere, somehow down the line, you know, I was part of that because, you know, I was